Incremental greetings. I'm going to react to this video from Piotr Wozniak using closed solution to simplify complex items. Using Supermemo 17, it's almost the same experience as 18 and 19. Most of what he will do will be the exact same flow. And especially this, I think this is using the language learning. So we'll discuss this a little.
Some English. And I have such a text, which is a little bit complex. I have a couple of things like dessert, desert, and they have different meaning. They mean different things in German.
Yeah, it's a good example because in English, it's either the same spelling. Perhaps the difference is how it's pronounced, because the difference in the part of a speech, if it's an adjective or pronoun. Very common in American English, object, object, and all of this. And then similar spellings. And then you can use a language for reference. In this case, in German could have been any other one. Usually the one you already speak natively.
German, it is a little bit confusing. I don't think my memory can hold it. I think I need to do something about it. And the first step would be to make it a little bit more beautiful. Perhaps add some pictures. My first step would be to add some references, some pictures. It really looks better. It's more pleasing for the eye. It makes me feel better when I'm learning. Okay, so here has a desert.
Yeah, that one word is more pleasant, but I mean, pleasant if we compare plain text. This looks like crap for today's standard. That was shot 6 years ago. Back then was looking like crap by then standards. So if you really want to use Supermemo for language learning, you can do it. There will be some trade-offs. Bear this in mind. And I will be real strict here, because I have used Supermemo for language learning myself and moved on.
And a nice dessert. I'll begin with selecting a keyword for this pronunciation. I'll choose clause.
Close.
Convert the selected keyword into a deletion and produce a new clause item. Clause. And I already have one pronunciation stored as an item.
What I will do here is that, okay, have everything in one single topic, and all of the closed solutions I will do here will be siblings. They'll come from the same place, which this is a semantic connection, it's useful. But now, here I will just get rid of everything else. Just take the A. Desert as a noun. Dessert as a noun. That is the equivalent in German, this thing. How it's pronounced. Boom. And if you have, let me show you some examples. Okay, here I only have 3 because now it's rare that I do this. Easy as that. It's how you pronounce this word. How you pronounce this other word. And how you pronounce this other word. Oh yeah. Aphasis. Okay, no, it's aphasis because the stress mark and so on. So I have this convention, and in this case I will do the same. Everything else it's just noise. And the same for every single card. Here probably I will do 4 cards for pronunciation. And then perhaps spelling or the part of the speech, whatever.
It's a clause deletion. Okay. Let's do the same with the other pronunciations. That's dessert, and that is desert, and that's also a desert. Okay.
Yep, that's what
this
I will
would be abandoned. So I would learn what this one means.
So in this case, he's pretend to learn English because he already is fluent with English through German. This is useful if you are a beginner in the language. In a professional level, it's very basic, so you rely on the equivalents or the descriptions in some other language, not the target language. After a while, you will be able to use the target language itself for making the definitions and so on, so you don't rely on the other language. That means that eventually this card will be modified. So instead of queuing the German, you will just reword and have the definition in English.
And what this one means. also this one. And verlassen. Okay. And now the tough part, the spelling. That will be a dessert.
Okay, he's doing almost everything and not incrementally, by the way. If you do it like this, what's going to happen is that all of the new created items will have a very similar starting point. Because the close deletion and the priority is what calculates the next interval. Because here, this is what is called the close interval. Is when you create an item via close deletion, the starting interval is created. Because the item, the flashcard, it's not new, unlike Anki and other apps. It has already an interval, it's already scheduled. And if the source, in this case the topic, it's 2.8% priority, that means that most of the items, if not all, they will have the same, almost the same priority. Slightly below, slightly higher than that. Not just this, because they have the same, almost the same priority. The first interval, which is based on the priority, will be kind of the same. There's some fuzziness in the calculation. I have one video about that if you want to check it out. The close interval. So if you do, now he has done 8 and he's about to do 12 close deletions with almost the same priority. That means that most of that will have the same first interval. You don't want that. You don't want that at all. So you could do, if you really want it, you could go by rows, first the 1, the A, next repetition the B, and you will do it in 3 or 4 days. That's it. And before you finish, you will have done some item repetitions already. Or you could do it by meaning, then by pronunciation, and then by spelling, whatever you prefer. But all at the same time is the worst case for memory interference and actual proper learning.
And then dessert. The desert. And this desert. Wow. We already have 12. We already have 12 items. And that's not all. Because when I say abandon, I need to know if I should say desert or dessert. So I'll take this. And this.
Okay, he's not even finished. Now he's doing overlapping close deletion. I'm not sure the reasoning now. I haven't watched this video, by the way. That's genuine. So I really don't know what his the intention behind that. It looks weird.
This. And this. Yeah, that would make it 16. Quite a lot. So let's see what we have generated. Oh, lots of items, lots of items. Perhaps, let's see it in the browser.
View range or control space.
Here's an example. Okay. I will start with removing the pictures. I can't see that question time.
Oh my god, yes, the full manual approach. That was oh my god. Yes, because you have everything. So what you will require to do is either right click and check show answer. So in the question time it's hidden. And you will have to do this manually every single time. And perhaps not this example, but could be that, oh, it's not even relevant for the answer. So you will just delete the image. So it's not present anytime. And you have to do this every single time. That's why, for instance, Anki for this flow is a lot better because you can do this via note type. So you can have different fields. One is the spelling, one is the phonetic reading, part of a speech, and then via card types, I can have an ask whatever. Okay, so I'm going to do this in Anki. Keep in mind it's not limited, but this is one of the best examples. So in this case, first what I'm going to do is a brand new profile. I will make my own, I will call it desert. But now let's say vocabulary, vocab. And now I say, yeah, the fields, that will be spelling, phonetic reading, part of a speech, German. I can even split this, German and meaning. And I will tell you why this could be useful in the future. Cool. Then I will add the card. I will only do one example. So I have desert. The phonetic reading usually it's done by copy pasting. First, when I mean phonetic reading, I don't mean that is respelling. Don't use this, please. Use the phonetic reading that is in a standard. And here you go. As a noun, by the way, if I want a verb or the adjective, here is a verb. Now you can see that it's actually different. Desert, and so on. Cool, so I just copy and paste it here. That is verb. German is this thing. I don't speak German myself. Verlassen, something like that. And I use meaning, which is English. Why this is useful? Let me create, and let's go right away. Okay, what's going to happen here? Now here I can ask whatever I want, the order, because I have the node with the fields. You can interpret this as if it was an Excel file. I have columns. The fields are the columns and the rows are the nodes. So now is what I want to recall. He closed virtually everything. So in this case, what I will do, let's just start something easy. I have the spelling and the meaning, and even German. Here's what I could do. Then I am not going to mention that you can customize these with CSS classes instead of hard coding the content, change the color and whatever. The single example is this thing in English, this word that means to abandon, the semantic meaning means to abandon. And in German it's like this, because I may assume that German is my native language. It's my memory anchor. Now I know the word I mean. And then I want to recall how it is pronounced. So I can have my own convention. It looks terrible. It's for the sake of the example. Pronunciation of this word. That means this, what it is. Cool. Now create one single card. If I save, I only have this very card in my collection. One card. Cool. But hey, let me create the second card type. And now I want to recall the meaning. Or no, you know what? So in this case, let me get rid of this. I provide the German, verlassen, and how do you say this in English that it's a verb? It's another flow that I can have. And here the answer would be the spelling, the English basically. Not desert, desert. Cool, and if I want, anytime, let's say that's what I do, perhaps a few months after I have done many repetitions, I can say, hey, you know what? Now in the answer, I can have whatever I want extra, like the phonetic reading, even if it's not the question. And perhaps I want this to be optional. So I put the hint and so on. So I need to click, and then it's shown. Let me save. Then I can do the same as he did. He also closed the German. So let's do it. And now the answer will be German. I modify this. I delete the German here. And let's pretend I have this convention. M, that means for meaning. Yeah, I have this word. That means abandon. What is the equivalent of in German here? This is like passive. It's the other way around. It's from my target language to my native. This is more useful at the beginning. So perhaps I will reposition this to the first card, actually. And I will do the same for every single case. What's the point here? First, because it's Anki in this case, I will see this card first. Then, the second card. I didn't remain the card. I didn't remain the card, so it's not the best 3-1-2. So I will have this at the front. Oh yeah, I want to recall the German. Cool. Once I have seen that, I will see the second automatically, because the card has been created. I have this. Hey, how this is pronounced? Ah, yeah, like this. Desert. When I know the German, from the German, I know the passively, the English word, how to pronounce it, and then is, oh yeah. Then is, from the German, now it's active recall. It's not passive anymore. Oh yeah, cool. Then what I could do, let's say that I invest 2 years like this, is, you know what? Now I don't have to rely on German anymore. I am proficient enough in English that I want to use English itself, monolingual cards. Instead of manually retyping everything every time that I see the card, no. I have templates. So what I could do instead, if you remember, we had the meaning here. So what I could do instead of prompting from German, is no. I will do this one, meaning. I put it here, abandon. Keep in mind, this is just one word. It could have been if I go here, let me save, and here abandon. Perhaps next time I will have this instead. So what I will see is this, abandon, or leave a person, place, etc. without intending to return, especially in violation of a duty, promise, or the like. And it's a verb. Yeah, what is this? Oh yeah, it is desert. Desert or desert? Oh yeah, desert. Yeah, I was right. But what I was asking is just the word. And I did this change in template. That means that all of the cards, notes in reality, that are using this will be updated. And let's say that, oh shoot, perhaps I haven't did this for all of them. No worries. What I could do are conditionals. So for instance, is if meaning exists, do this. I'm not going to explain exactly how it's done in Anki. I will just do it. And if it doesn't exist, show me something else. Okay, now I have the right syntax. So those are super cool feature of Anki, unlike Supermemo, that are conditionals. That means that if this field exists, the meaning it's not empty, it will be used, it will be shown. If it's not, it will show German. So let's actually delete meaning. And now what's going to happen is that I see the German. And this is dynamic. So anytime that I fill in this field, it will change the node. It will change the card how it's presented. So if I copy this again, the third, here you go. Now I no longer need the German. That is super cool feature. That once you make the decision that, yeah, let me have the English because I'm good enough. Hey, I will see the English, not the German, and so on. There are many different flows and more possibilities, but this is out of the scope of this video. Just to let you know that this flow for language learning, it's way too primitive and requires too much time. What I suggest to do is what I did, like the examples I have shown, that yeah, and this is, if I go here, that comes from incremental reading. So I also have extracts and so on. So it's not for the sake of language learning. It just happened to be there, and it's a very low frequency word, and I want to just know how it's pronounced, like, and that's it. So let's continue.
Mark it as answer. If it's an answer, I will not see it during questions. The next step would be to remove those clues. They'll tell me by elimination what my answer is, so I have to delete them.
Too much work, too much manual work. Makes sense, but
Okay.
in 2024
Comes
and
to
many years
spelling,
before
I have
that,
to work even harder. I want to be able to spell this text. But for spelling, I rather really need to type to be sure I really spell it properly. So
cool that he mentioned that. So now what happens that he needs to change that template because he wants this to be a spelling component. If we go back to Anki, it will be super easy. So let me see which one has the, what I will do. Here is type, colon, and that's it. That's the preview. Is as easy as that. And this affects all of the cards using that template. That node type already. As easy as that.
I would
And I can toggle this on and off every single time.
have to clean this all up for dessert, a sweet course. And to get a spelling exercise, I'll go to templates, template,
Template.
apply template. Or just Shift Control M. Spell a picture. It makes sense to organize those pictures better. So maybe I'll tile them.
Imagine the time he's spending because now he applied the template for the sake of the spelling. But now the image components are messed up. It's not worth it. So if you do this in Supermemo for the algorithm, don't do it. Because the extra time you will spend with these minute details doesn't outweigh the time you save for the algorithm. So if you don't do extracts and then the consolations, you do the items right away, I strongly suggest to move on today. If that was in the 90s, go ahead, even in the early 2000s. But in 2024, and even if you stretch the last 14 years, no, please don't. I have done this myself with different languages, different approach. I maximized every single combination I could have used. I have spent hundreds of hours, and believe me, it's not worth it. Only if it comes from incremental reading, and it will be scarce, because if you do incremental reading in that language, you are already proficient. So it will be low frequency words here and there, or foreign words that came into the language, stuff like that.
Maybe I will check if it works properly. So I'll do components, test repetition cycle, or just Shift
Yeah,
Alt
it's
L.
a simulation. It doesn't
The
register
question
the
is,
repetition.
what's the spelling of sweet corns? I see the pictures, so I need to get rid of them. That would be answered.
By the way, that's a fine detail. He applied a template, but I can tell you that this template has only plain text components. And he had HTML components. So now it's plain text. So if you happen to have something here that you rely on the color, highlight or something, gone. So if you want to color code or something, you will need a template that has HTML as well, not just plain and simple text.
That would be answer. Let's try the spelling. Dessert. Oh, that's cool.
Then what happens here when you spell and you press enter to show the answer? These auto grades, you recall. Successful means that it's the same string, it's number 4. If you fail, meaning it's a different string, one character is off or missing, it's number 2. So you only have 2 and 4, pass and fail. So you never have 1, 3, or 5.
Correct. Let's try it again. Alt Shift L. Dessert. This time I don't see the pictures. Maybe I'll import sound.
Makes sense because you don't want the spoiler at the question time. But look at this. As a recap, you have to check, right click and check show answer to avoid spoiling the answer. Then you need to rearrange or delete part of the text every single time. then perhaps applying a different template. So yes, you can create 16 items very quickly. Yeah, that's true. But then you need a lot of time amending those before you can do a genuine repetition. And it looks like crap anyways. And as I mentioned in Anki, which requires some familiarity how the card types work, you cannot use the built-in. It's as simple as that. So now if I create a new one, I have this. I only will check, oh yeah, what I do. Oh yeah, that is vocabulary, cool. Yeah, the spelling, phonetic reading, I do this, I add, boom. I don't have to worry about anything. I'm not going to change any template. I'm not going to toggle show answer time or the size, where the image is placed. Nothing about this. Which, by the way, I didn't mention that to simplify. But I could have its own field for images and place it whatever place I want and so on. Super powerful. To simplify, it's just in Anki, the flashcard is like a website, a web page. Sorry. You can do whatever you can do in a web page. It's likely you can do it in Anki.
I already have the whole collection of advanced English sounds, so that would be easy. Sound, links, register member.
That is the difference. And one big pro in favor of Supermemo. You have the sound, 120,000, okay, quite large. You have a sound registry. That means that you can reuse sound. Usually this is more useful with images. If you have the desert, and you can use this any other time with a different language, or in incremental reading for when the topic is about this and so on. But for sounds, it's kind of hard to reuse this. So we'll reuse the sound if it's the same flashcard, it's a sibling. Like in Anki. Again, I didn't do it to simplify. But I could have sound and image. So I could just drag and drop one sound here, and that will be it. And then it's, okay, I want to add it, let's say here in the back template, in the answer time, I will add the audio here. Sound. Well, now it's empty, will appear here and so on. But what happened that, yeah, I already have this. So if I want to reuse it, Anki will require the exact same name for this because there's no registry. For sound, it's not a big deal. For images, kind of, especially if you use multiple languages.
Dessert.
Okay, that's a good case. What happens here, destroy it? What is this thing? What happens in the registry is that the name has to be unique. Every member has a unique name. You can have this one in parentheses, but usually what happens with Supermemo, if it detects that this name exists, it will append a random character. In this case, it has been CL, which makes it arbitrary. Is, yeah, now I want to reuse this exact same sound. Let's say you have different pronunciations speakers, but this is it becomes cryptic. So unless I spend more time or to actually rename this meaningfully, or I have a convention through imports, like a video I did years ago, it's not that useful for sound.
Dessert.
So I have a nice set of items I work on.
Even though, since it's Supermemo, look at the interval. What I mentioned that most of the intervals will be exactly the same because of the close interval and so on. But that won't be the case. It's likely it's not your case. First, he has a huge collection. If you see 5% of his collection, it's just 40,000. So that means that those two, that is 3.8 and 1.8, that is 27, 28 days, 1 day off, is 2% off, 2% difference in the priority queue. That can mean 50,000 positions in the priority queue. It's a lot. So you need to put it in perspective. If you have Perhaps 50,000 is not even your collection size, it's lower than that. So imagine. It's very likely that they will be more homogeneous. So therefore, everything more put together and so on.
Them incrementally. They've been redistributed over a month. So I have a month to work on it all. And by the time I'm done, all those things will be beautifully stored in my memory. No more problems. A little bit of work, but it's all pleasure.
What I would say is the end of the video. What I would say, yes, the time you will get investing less time because you do less repetition. You have preemptively invested on creating the items. It's a pain. It's not worth it, in my opinion. But if you enjoy it, as he said, if it's pleasurable, go ahead, because this is what is more important. If for you it's pleasurable, you enjoy learning like this and this flow, that is what matters the most. It won't be as efficient in time, especially now with all the tools, but if for you it's pleasurable, then that will be the best choice for you. For me, it's not that it was not pleasurable, but it was so cumbersome. It was the friction added to the pleasure. And I was already an Anki user. Is shit, that doesn't make sense. I prefer a worse scheduler. So those are my 2 cents. Again, a video a lot longer than the original video. Hope this has been useful. Let me know your opinion and see you incrementally.